The words and deeds of the man in the top hat showed the attitude of the strong man incisively and vividly. But Bai Ling had no intention of compromising in the face of such power. HMPH, after talking so much, isn't it to keep your jobs? I won't go back. Why don't you just get rid of me now? Anyway, this is a common thing for you guys. Bai Ling's response was somewhat unpleasant to call the man in the top hat. His expression changed, and the movement of his body also reflected his thoughts. Since Miss Bai Ling has no intention of cooperating, I will stop wasting my words. Please forgive my rudeness. As soon as the top hat man finished speaking, he waved his arms. He planned to knock Bai Ling unconscious in order to achieve his goal. But just as the guy's knife was about to be swung down, Mu Bai intervened. My friend, isn't it kind of bad to treat a weak woman like this? Mu Bai grabbed the opponent's arm, and the transmission of strength also made the other party realize that the situation was not good. Who are you? The top hat man did not turn his face immediately, but rather calmly interrogated. I'm her bodyguard. Mu Bai answered in a loud voice. Oh. It turned out to be Miss Bai Ling's attendant. But I heard that you were attacked. Why are you here? The top hat man's tone was quite mocking, and it was not difficult to find that he mistakenly thought Mu Bai as a deserter. I'm here because I've already defeated all the enemies. Mu Bai could hear the other party's intention, so when he answered, he also increased his tone. Are you alone? The top hat man continued to ask inexplicably. Of course I am alone. If not me, did you do it? Mu Bai began to provoke. Although he wanted to develop on the bright side at the beginning, he gave up that idea because of the aggressiveness of the other party. HMPH, what an interesting guy. But I need to remind you that Miss Bai Ling must leave here with us. Your mission is over. Really? What if I say no? Mu Bai's serious answer instantly made the atmosphere of the scene tense. And Bai Ling, who was standing beside him, also broke into a cold sweat for Mu Bai. Although Bai Ling yearned for freedom, she also asked Mu Bai for help. But if Bai lost her life because of herself, she still couldn't bear it. Mu Bai, forget it, I'll go back with them, so don't join in. Bai Ling began to moving towards the direction where the polite man was. But just as she passed Mu Bai, the latter grabbed her arm. Are you serious? If so, I'll let you go. If not, stand by my side and I'll set you free. Mu Bai's sudden question made Bai Ling hesitate again. As a third party, the top hat man also observed the uncertain factors on the scene. In order to cut off other possibilities, the top hat man pushed away Mu Bai's palm without waiting for Bai Ling to respond, and said that the matter had come to an end and no objection was needed. Bai Ling, miss, let's end the farce. Don't let Miss Yas and your boss wait. The man in the top hat originally thought of the role of the town. But he never imagined that the real incentive to ignite the fuse came from this warning. Bai Ling angrily broke free from the shackles of the top hat man, and then used all her strength to shout at Bai, help me get out of here. It would be nice to be so happy earlier. Mu Bai smiled happily, and then his energy was full. In order to quickly end this meaningless dispute, he showed the power of the god of destruction. If you don't want to die in vain, it's best to just stand there and not move. The so-called warning must have the corresponding ability. The energy Mu Bai showed at this time was enough to support him in any activity. Number 1. The sphere in that guy's hand is really weird. I think we'd better do what he asked. The masked man made a speech, and as he looked at it, the sphere in Yangbai's hand was spinning at a slow speed. But on the surface of the sphere, the 5 elements of wind, fire, water, thunder, and earth appear. Well, you are right. Admitting defeat is also a kind of courage. We don't need to fight against this monster. The top hat man accepted number 2's suggestion. As a rational commander, he knew how to make the right choice. Bai Ling, miss, I hope you know what you have done. The boss has a great influence. He will never tolerate this incident. After that, the hacker team evacuated. They didn't hesitate in the slightest, for fear that Mu Bai would temporarily regret it and slaughter them all. Mu Bai, enough is enough, they won't come back. As the back of the hacker team disappeared, Bai Ling made a proposal to Mu Bai. After listening, Mu Bai also disarmed him and fell to the other side. I said, Miss Bai, what is your identity? You make so many people miss you. Honesty is the foundation of cooperation, and this element must be the focus of attention in any matter. When Bai Ling confirmed that Mu Bai in front of her could really help her, she revealed the secret hidden in her heart and told it without reservation. To tell you the truth, I am an artificial person, and I have been specially modified. My blood contains healing factors, which can be transmitted through blood to treat other people's diseases. Oh. If you analyze it according to what you said, then you are simply invaluable to some rich people. You are right, but unfortunately my fate is not as smooth as you think. After the boss got me, he never treated me as a human being. I'm just his tool to make money, no matter how shameful things must be done. As soon as Bai Ling finished speaking, she took off her jacket, and this action of hers made Bai hurriedly back away. Sister, you don't need to be like this, Mu Bai said with an embarrassed expression, but as a normal male, it was difficult for him to control the movement of his eyes. There's nothing to complain about. Please take a closer look at my body and you'll know why I want to leave. After listening to Bai Ling's words, Mu Bai no longer concealed it. He looked straight at the other's body, and then his expression changed. The body that was supposed to be white and flawless was actually covered with dark red scars, and there were many tooth marks on the chest. But the presentation of this picture, Mu Bai was enough to feel the humiliation suffered by the other party. He immediately used chaos magic to put the clothes on the ground on Bai Ling's body again. It seems that you have suffered a lot. I apologize for your previous actions, Mu Bai said worriedly. As a man, he could not see women being hurt. It doesn't matter, after all, at that time, you didn't know what happened to me, Bai Ling responded flatly. Alright, thank you for your understanding. But what are your plans from now on? I don't know, but I want to leave that city, and I don't want to see those beasts again. Bai Ling's emotions began to get excited, and it was obvious that the damage the other party had caused her had reached a deep-rooted level. But unfortunately, her wish is difficult to achieve. Trying to solve a problem by avoiding it often ends up delaying the problem. Only by truly facing each other can we completely solve everything. Mu Bai, who is well versed in this, expressed his opinion. It's a bit of a disappointment, but it's better than comforting like a bubble. Miss Bai Ling, please be blunt. In terms of the boss's influence ability, as long as you are still on this planet, you will never be able to escape from his surveillance. Then I will make it clear that I will die, and I will not submit to him again. Bai Ling picked up a piece of gravel and pressed it against her throat with a sharp part. Mr. Mu Bai, I have one last request. When I die, please throw my body into the sea. I like the smell of the ocean, maybe my soul can find peace there. After saying the will, Bai Ling suddenly exerted force. She didn't hesitate at all. She lived for the sake of death. But with Mu Bai's character, how could such a tragedy happen? Come on, it's not worth giving up the freedom that I finally gained. Mu Bai moved while talking. When the sharp stone just touched Bai Ling's skin, this guy had already stopped the other party's action. Since you can't help me, why are you stopping me? Bai Ling's expression began to resent. She didn't want to accept this kind of charity. Who said I couldn't help you? I just stated the status quo. You are too impatient. Mu Bai smashed the stones, then squatted on the mound beside him, and continued. Is there any smoke? When I am thinking about things, I need the stimulation of nicotine. Do you think I look like a smoker? Bai Ling asked rhetorically. Yeah, it really doesn't look like that, but your ability to lie is too average. Mu Bai took out a pack of cigarettes out of thin air, which belonged to Bai Ling. When the two were hand to hand before, Bai sneaked away. HMPH, what an unpredictable man. Bai Ling did not explain and was not annoyed by Mu Bai's theft. Instead, he threw a very standard lighter from the pocket on the other side. I'll give you a cigarette time, and if you don't have an answer, don't interfere with my actions, okay? No problem. Mu Bai readily agreed to the request and lit the tobacco in his hand. As time passed quickly, a challenging idea also appeared in this guy's mind. Miss Bai Ling, I know what to do. Mu Bai's eyes flashed, and his excited expression made him look a little perverted. Regarding his performance, Bai Ling, who was not fully dressed yet, subconsciously avoided her body and asked cautiously, what do you want to do? Mu Bai laughed, completely ignoring the other party's feelings, and still said excitedly, have you heard of Sweetheart Mask? Sweetheart Mask? Is that the first A-rank hero? That's right, it's that guy. I don't know him, but I know a little bit about his rumors. It is said that he is also a very good idol actor. That's right, but it's just an illusion used to decorate the exterior. In fact, this guy hates evil and can tolerate good things infinitely, but he has complete resistance to evil things. But what does this have to do with me? Bai Ling asked suspiciously, and began to organize her personal clothes. Of course it does matter, or why would I mention this guy? What's the meaning? I can introduce you to him, so that he will become your umbrella. Don't underestimate his strength by thinking that he is an idol. The organization behind this guy is far beyond your imagination. Mu Bai stood up happily, happy for his brilliant idea. But this kind of thing seemed a little unacceptable to Bai Ling. After all, she has nothing to do with Sweetheart Mask, let alone any interests. It is obviously difficult to succeed in seeking asylum in the relationship of pure strangers. For this reason, Bai Ling did not accept Mu Bai's proposal. But just after her intentions were expressed, Mu Bai, who had always been mild-mannered, suddenly became extremely serious. Bai Ling, let's be honest with you, this is not just your problem. If you really walk away, it would be too irresponsible. I'm irresponsible. So what can I do? Of course you can choose. Follow me to find Sweetheart Mask, and then we will destroy that evil lair together. You must be clear that your escape today will inevitably mean that a new girl will take your place. Your misfortune will continue on others. Is this a responsible performance? Mu Bai's righteous words made Bai Ling speechless. She fell into contemplation, weighing herself in a self-enclosed world. Time passed by, and the afterglow of dusk began to spread over the earth. When the last ray of sunshine shone on Bai Ling's face, she finally made a choice. She was moved by Mu Bai's words and gave up the option of escaping, instead speaking for justice. Mu Bai, you're right. I can't let those bastards go unpunished anymore. Now I'll find Sweetheart Mask with you, and let's destroy the bastards' lair together. No problem, but you have to cooperate with my arrangement. After all, our current strength is still a little weak, and we can't take it lightly. Okay, I'll try to restrain myself. The screen rotates. On the feasting streets, all the office workers in a hurry during the day have become leisurely and contented. They removed their disguise from the workplace and roamed the free-spirited streets. The area that provides convenience for these guys is the second block known as the Street of Flowers. Whenever night falls, this block will ignite the fire of desire in people's hearts, so that all those who are nostalgic here can release the most primitive impulses. And the owner of this block is the Sweet Mask that Mu Bai mentioned earlier. He relied on his strong business background to make this block what he wanted to see. Inside a bar, Sweet Mask is negotiating with several business partners, although his main identity is a hero. But in his spare time, he will continue to expand his business activities. Mr. Mask, we plan to open an entertainment venue in the second block. Please take care of the rent. A slightly bloated man raised his glass with a smile. The other guy in charge of escorting him directly nodded and bowed, hoping to make the other party feel his respect for him. Claude, sir, please talk to my assistant about the rent. If the scale is large enough, I can give you a discount on the commission. Sweetheart Mask said indifferently. He didn't even clink glasses with the other party, he drank the wine in the glass alone. Such negligent behavior will naturally arouse the dissatisfaction of the other party. Although he is begging for him, the identity background of the other party is not much inferior to that of Sweetheart Mask. Mr. Mask, I hope you can understand. Guys who want to cooperate with our Claude group, just queuing up is enough to line up at the foot of Mount Fuji. Yeah. Since it's like this, please go back. I'm not interested in cooperating with ordinary people. I only associate with exclusive elites. Sweetheart Mask's arrogant character, few people will like it. For those rich second generations who have been pampered since childhood, it is even more unacceptable. Out of self-esteem defense, or the influence of face, the man named Claude suddenly stood up, and with a furious expression, threatened Sweetheart Mask. You little white face, listen to Lousy. If I want, I can let people destroy this street in minutes, believe it or not. Huh. Do you really have this ability? Sweetheart Mask said calmly, and lit the cigar in his hand. Damn it, as already at this time, how dare you act like Lousy? Seeing the calmness of Sweetheart Mask, Claude couldn't bear it any longer. He directly overturned the case table, and then ordered the accompanying man to take action, saying anything to destroy the face of Sweetheart Mask. As soon as I see a little white face like you, I feel disgusted. Today Lousy will tell you well, what is a real man? Claude gave an order, and the previous guy who nodded and bowed his waist also changed his personality in an instant. He directly smashed the champagne on the ground and stabbed Sweetheart Mask's head with a sharp glass surface. However, such action is undoubtedly foolish. With the character of Sweetheart Mask, how could he endure others' insults to his appearance? I saw Sweetheart Mask's eyes change, and just through the fierce eyes, it shocked the guy who came to attack. Ugly rubbish. Still want to run wild in my place. I really don't know whether to live or die. Sweetheart Mask rose into the air and kicked the opponent onto the toilet in the bathroom with one kick. And with the violent sound, his younger brothers rushed into the private room one after another. Big brother, are these two guys here to make trouble? A guy dressed as a cowherd asked Sweetheart Mask. Well, I haven't encountered such an interesting thing for a long time. Go and repair those two guys. If I can still recognize their appearance, you can wait to receive them. In a joking tone, Sweet Mask made the most ferocious request. But just as many of the younger brothers were preparing to execute, there was a sudden sound of fighting in the direction of the door. Haha, my subordinates must be here, you sissies just wait to be castrated. Claude laughed wildly, but he ignored his own situation. When Sweetheart Mask listened to this guy's sarcasm, what was originally a good mood suddenly turned into a very bad mood. Why is there such a thing as a stupid pig in this world? The mumbling Sweetheart Mask moved directly to Claude's side, and after giving him a hostile look, he greeted the guy's body with the same kicking technique. Claude also flew into the bathroom, and the source of the noise at the door also arrived in front of this private room at the same time. Boss, there are only 2 people on the other side, what should we do? Cowherd asked loudly, and ordered the rest of the staff to be prepared. You all get out of the way. Since the other party can get here with only 2 people, it is enough to show their strength. Sweet Mask turned around and prepared with a very serious attitude. But when he looked at it at a glance, his originally grim face suddenly became much calmer. 0. Are you Dragon Roll's husband? As soon as these words came out, the tense atmosphere suddenly disappeared. All the younger brothers widened their eyes, and then asked in an unbelievable tone, Boss, is that the trembling tornado? Sweetheart Mask squinted and replied impatiently, Yes, that is the second-ranked S-rank hero, the trembling tornado. After hearing this answer, everyone was dumbfounded. Even Bai Ling, who was beside Bai, showed an incredible expression. No, you were actually Dragon Roll's husband? Bai Ling asked in surprise. Huh. Didn't I tell you? Mu Bai replied proudly, he likes to see other people's performance because of this kind of thing. I really didn't expect that the trembling tornado would like a guy like you. It seems that the S-rank heroes are not normal guys. Bai Ling's answer made Mu Bai lose his brilliance. His expression began to dim, and his unhappy emotions were also on the paper. But before waited for Mu Bai to argue, the Sweetheart Mask on the side got involved in the conversation. Tronju's follower, do you have anything to do with me? Sweetheart Mask was still like me, he didn't put Mu Bai in his eyes at all, and even had a trace of contempt. There are indeed some things, but before answering this question, I must make one thing clear to you, I am not the root of the tornado, but her husband. Oh. Does it make any difference? Of course there are differences. If you are not clear, I can tell you in detail. A tense atmosphere surrounds Mu Bai and Sweetheart Mask. As the younger brother of the latter, the rest of the staff also showed fierce eyes. Facing such a scene, Bai Ling, who had never spoken, suddenly intervened between the two. She grabbed Mu Bai's wrist and immediately said to leave here. Please wait a while. Just as Bai Ling and the two were about to leave, Sweetheart Mask suddenly intercepted. It's just that compared to the previous state, the Sweetheart Mask at this time is very kind. This, ma'am. Did this guy make the scar on your hand? Sweetheart Mask asked with concern, and looked at Mu Bai from time to time. No, he didn't make these scars. On the contrary, he saved me. Bai Ling responded with a serious face. Oh, I see. Sweethearts meet and start to ponder, and build a variety of possibilities in their minds. After some calculations, he finally found the answer and changed his previous attitude. 2. I was rude just now, please come with me. The sudden change in the style of painting made everyone a little confused. Not to mention the younger brothers of Sweetheart Mask, but this guy Mu Bai is also suspicious. Mu Bai. What should we do? Bai Ling, who was also puzzled, quietly searched Mu Bai's cuffs, trying to get a reliable answer. Don't worry, although that guy's character is not likable, he will definitely not hurt you. After Mu Bai spoke, he began to walk in the direction of Sweetheart Mask. And Bai Ling, who was standing behind him, naturally followed. After a journey, the three came to the office of Sweetheart Mask. The furnishings in that room are very impressive, very much in line with the temperament of the owner of the room. 2. Just find a place to sit down, the previous matter has been turned over, I hope you don't mind. Sweetheart said with a smile, and took out 2 bottles of drinks from the high-end refrigerator. This is the drink I brought back from Luca, it has the effect of clearing the fire and moisturizing the throat, and it is very delicious. Sweet Mask threw the drink into Mu Bai's arms, then leaned on the desk, and had a conversation with the other party with a unique look that was only available when shooting commercials. Mr. Mu Bai, tell me what happened to this young lady. I think you brought her here for this matter? After hearing this, Mu Bai smiled and distributed the drink to Bai Ling next to him, and then responded, Yes, I brought her here to seek your protection. Yeah. Your wife is Tornado. Why did you come to me? This is a good explanation. First, the tornado will be jealous. Second, only your strength can compete with the opponent, and this is the most critical point. After Mu Bai finished speaking, he turned his attention to Bai Ling. Through the eye contact between the two, the latter knew the meaning. I saw Bai Ling turned around and took off her shirt without any hesitation. When her fat-like skin was exposed to the air, the calm sweetheart mask also changed her expression. Who caused these scars? Sweet Mask asked slightly angrily. It's the Baruch family. Baruch? Is that the company that held the martial arts tournament? Yes, it is these people. Why would they treat you like this? Of course it's because of profit, and it's not just me. Under the control of the Baruch family, there are hundreds of girls who have also suffered similar treatment. Bai Ling's answer made Sweetheart Mask unable to bear it any longer. He started pacing around the desk, his anger even more undisguised. Damn. These beasts dare to do such an unconscionable thing. Haven't you notified the police? It's impossible, we're all under surveillance. If it wasn't for Mu Bai's help, I wouldn't be in this place. Okay. I already know what to do. There is no way to punish a despicable guy like this through normal channels. Sweetheart Mask spoke righteously and glanced at Mu Bai. Do you think so too? Mu Bai said equally seriously. Yes, I think so too, but there is still a problem. What's the problem? That organization has a lot of influence. If you expose your identity, you will inevitably get into some unnecessary trouble. The so-called tail can't be lost, that's the truth. Haha, it seems that you were reminding me how to deal with this matter. Sweetheart Mask made his signature move, he kept running his hands along his blue hair, and then continued. Leave this girl here, I will make proper arrangements. As to how to punish that girl organization, you don't have to worry. Mu Bai nodded with satisfaction, first glanced at Bai Ling beside him, then looked at Sweetheart Mask and said, thank you for your help. On the bustling streets, handsome men and beautiful women could be seen everywhere. Even a beautiful girl like Bai Ling would not get any special attention. And Mu Bai, who was standing in front of her, seemed more ordinary, a pimp businessman who was so ordinary that he didn't bother to pay attention to this guy. Mu Bai. Thank you for your help to me. I really don't know how to thank you. Bai Mei, who has always been closed, mustered a lot of courage. But this kind of performance is sparse for Mu Bai. He scratched the back of his head and responded in an indifferent tone. You don't need to keep this kind of trivial matter in your mind. It is your top priority to have a good relationship with that guy. Do you mean Sweetheart Mask? Bai Ling asked slightly concerned. Yes, the guy's character is volatile, at least I won't be very comfortable with him. When I'm done with it, you can go where you want to go. Mu Bai smiled, lit a cigarette habitually, and left alone without waiting for Bai Ling to say goodbye. The screen rotates. The so-called unwinding of the bell must also be tied to the bell, and the culprit who caused all these evil results must receive the most severe punishment. But for Mu Bai now, participating in the martial arts tournament and getting the prize money is the top priority right now. Why do troublesome things always make me catch up? After a while, Mu Bai surpassed the high growth in front of him. The time at this time is about 2300, and the Black Knight can provide him with a good camouflage. Brother, you said that if Bai Ling really disappears, will the boss be affected? The guards in charge of the patrol started chatting, and as the one being questioned, the other guard responded very rigorously. Don't talk nonsense here, if it reaches the boss's ears, you will become bait. From the conversation between the two, it can be known that Bai Ling's disappearance has affected Baruch, and the degree of deterioration is spreading at an unimaginable speed. After listening to these conversations, Mu Bai, who was lurking in the grass, smiled involuntarily, because the plan he envisioned would have a high probability of being realized. Looking at the bargaining chip has been obtained. Mu Bai muttered again in his heart, and then sneaked into the villa in front of him. Through the effect of chaos magic, he can easily avoid the defense system. It only took a minute or so, and he came to the door of Boss Baruch. Dong dong dong. Mu Bai politely opened the door and stood quietly in front of the door waiting. Who? There was a response from inside the house, but it wasn't the boss's noise. Boss. I'm here to report the situation. Mu Bai said calmly, but the content was very vague. Report the situation? The man's voice was hesitant, and after a pause, he said again, come in. Mu Bai opened the door, and the first person that caught his eye was Roger, the head of the guard, and Ielts, the head of the secretary, and the one sitting in the middle was Baruch, the boss of the organization. Why did you come back alone? What about Bai Ling? Seeing Mu Bai's appearance, the whole group of people all widened their eyes. After all, they had all the information from the hacker report, so it's not surprising to be surprised. Haha. I'm here to talk about this. Since everyone is here, let's open the skylight and speak out. Mu Bai smiled confidently, and then closed the door. Although he was on the road, the aura he showed had a feeling that I was the master. Facing such an aura, Boss Barkru was very unhappy. He gave Roger a look, motioning for him to teach the guy in front of him a lesson. However, Roger, who has already suffered a blow, does not want to look back on that feeling again. He looked at his master hesitantly, and responded with trembling. Boss, I'm not his opponent, I'll do it. As soon as this remark came out, Barkru was furious immediately. He angrily smashed to the table, and cursed Roger for being a waste. However, just when Barkru was scolding, Mu Bai, who didn't like vulgar words very much, immediately stopped the guy from barking. With one kick, he smashed the accessories beside him, and with an absolutely crushing aura, overcame Barkru's rudeness. Hey! You don't want to change the subject, lousy. I have gone through a lot of hardships to come here to negotiate terms with you. Seeing Mu Bai's strong intervention, Barkru had no choice but to give up and put his attention back on him. Mr. Mu Bai, if I remember correctly, there is no contradiction between us, right? Barkru adjusted his posture, not wanting to let his rhythm be led by Mu Bai. Yes, you are right, there is indeed no contradiction. But my three do not allow me to stand by and watch, so I hope you can also understand my difficulties. Mu Bai's playful answer made Barkru's veins burst, but due to the constraints of the situation, he had to force a smile. Alright, it seems that there must be some kind of misunderstanding between us. Baruch lit the cigar in front of him, and he has a lot of experience in negotiating things. Although it is difficult to compete with Mu Bai in terms of force, in terms of strategy and courage, he believes that he can be slightly better. Mr. Mu Bai, you must have been deceived by Bai Ling, so you made this judgment. I won't blame your choice, because Bai Ling's ability is like that. Facing Bakru's words, Mu Bai's expression changed a little. He walked to the side of a seat, and after sitting down, he asked rhetorically, you mean, I was deceived by Bai Ling? Exactly. Is there any evidence? Of course there is. Barkru looked at IELTS beside him, and after the other party made clear his intentions, he moved his pace. Her figure is very attractive, and her slender waist and plump upper circumference form an excellent visual impact. When IELTS came to Mu Bai's side, he turned over the counter behind him with a provocative action. The refreshing taste is introduced into Mu Bai's brain through the nasal cavity. The visual intuitive feeling also brought him a great impact. For the sake of control, Mu Bai suddenly stood up, stared at IELTS's face with a rather serious expression, and whispered. You are so beautiful, don't stand in the wrong team. Heartmask is my backstage, and he has never been soft-hearted in dealing with criminals. After some remarks, Mu Bai stepped aside. And IELTS, who has something in mind, continues to work. After a short wait, she took out a bag of sealed files from the counter and handed it over to Mu Bai. The material here is helpful to you, please read it carefully. After IELTS finished speaking, she returned to Bakru's side, but what Mu Bai said before was always haunted in her mind. Mu Bai was born first, take a good look at it, all the victims in there were caused by Bai Ling. Mimi Bai raised her eyes, calm, making Mu Bai a little upset. Okay. Mu Bai opened the portfolio, and the picture report that caught his eye surprised him. According to the content of the report, Bai Ling killed the staff more than once, and the method of committing the crime is mostly based on charm. She would lure employees into her room through sexual seduction, and then brutally kill each other after a lot of fun. Because Bai Ling is both male and female, the gender ratio is also very balanced, and there is no traditional idea of a revenge. Mr. Mu Bai, this time you should understand. You are just Bai Ling's tool, the one who is really deceived is actually you. Bakru's words made Mu Bai speechless for a while. Although he didn't want to admit it, the irregular evidence was in front of him, and he had to face it. But with the current level of technology, it is very easy to falsify files. If you completely believe everything in front of you, it will be really ridiculous. Mr. Barkrux, I will keep this material, but what you said, I can't accept it right away. As for what the truth looks like, I will conduct a separate investigation, and when the matter is fully revealed, I will have my own solution. Mu Bai resealed the material and ended the topic at the same time. But his performance was definitely not the result the other party wanted to see. Out of concern, Barklu immediately changed his attitude and asked in a rather unhappy tone. What exactly are you trying to do here this time? Seeing that the other party's emotions began to fluctuate, Mu Bai responded with a chuckle. If you want to get Bai Ling, show your sincerity. Sincerity? After all, it turned out to be for these things. Barklu also sneered, and then through the communication device, let the staff outside the house carry a leather bag. There is a deposit of 1 million yuan. After you hand over Bai Ling, I will pay you another 4 million yuan. Huh. Is Bai Ling only worth 5 million? Mu Bai's answer condensed the atmosphere of the scene again. Facing such greed, the crew's patience was also quite challenged. Then how much do you think she is worth? This question is very good. On the way here, I made a simple estimate, at least 300 million. What? 300 million? Is your head turned upside down? The guy who made such a statement was Roger, the chief guard. Wants to contribute in this segment due to his previous unfavorable performance. However, this guy who has more than enough success has once again pushed himself to the brink of danger. After Mu Bai heard this, he was immediately furious. He instantly reached Roger's front, grabbed the opponent's chin and lifted it into the air. Mr. Barkrux, if your dog can't speak human words, I can teach you a good lesson. The strength of the show again, so that Baruch seems very passive. He didn't respond immediately, because he knew very well that if he was careless, he would be implicated. Mr. Mu Bai, force is not the only way to solve the problem. We are willing to use the most sincere attitude to have a good talk with you about the price. Just when Barklu was speechless, his most trusted secretary in charge, bravely stood up. Miss Iltz, since you said so, I will also express my attitude. As long as I transfer 300 million, I will bring Bai Ling over immediately. Mr. Mu Bai, cooperation is a two-way street. You have no evidence, how can we trust you? Iltz asked. This issue is not something you should consider. If you don't want to, then the negotiation will end here. I believe there will be other organizations that can see the value of Bai Ling. When it comes to playing with the mind, Mu Bai is not a fuel-efficient lamp either. After he finished saying those words, he moved his arm and threw Roger out fiercely, knocking all the cash in the purse away. When the green banknotes were scattered in the air, Bucklu's face just set off against it. In the face of the absolute crushing strength, the opponent can only be at the mercy. Mr. Barkrux, the negotiation is over, and I regret that this will be the outcome. Mu Bai turned around and walked towards the door without looking back, and his behavior finally interfered with the other party's idea. Please wait a minute, give me 2 days to prepare, Barkru said suddenly and eagerly. 2 days? Are you kidding me? If you are sincere in pay now, I won't give you time to make extra preparations. Seeing Mu Bai's decision, Bakru had no choice but to compromise. But getting to the point, even for a group company like him, it would be quite difficult to come up with 300 million yuan in cash at this time. In order to keep Mu Bai, Bakru made a decision. He ordered Iltz to open his neckline to reveal the pendant around his neck. For the first time, Iltz showed resistance to such a request, but because of the majesty of the boss, she had to obey. Snapped. The collar of Iltz is wide open, the degree of exposure, and even the color of the bra can be vaguely seen. And this behavior of hers also made Roger on the ground hurriedly get up, for fear of missing such a beautiful scenery. Mr. Mu Bai, the pendant around her neck is made of pink diamonds, and there is only such a piece in the world. When I bought it, it cost a full 500 million yuan. Even if it is auctioned now, it can easily reach about 700 million. If you are willing to exchange Bai Ling, then this pendant is yours. Ah. After listening to the other party's statement, Mu Bai immediately made a judgment. The choice between 300 million and 700 million is something that everyone can think clearly. Although the latter is somewhat troublesome in terms of monetization, if compared with the work of a painter, it is simply a game. As expected of Mr. Barklu, he was so lavish as soon as he shot. Bai Ling was placed in the number 6 warehouse on the East Coast Pier by me. You can send someone directly to find it. Mu Bai answered and moved towards Iltz. But after seeing this, the other party made an unprecedented act of resistance. She hurriedly put her hands in front of her chest and responded with a curled posture. Miss Iltz, please don't make it difficult for me. I don't like to do things like shooting women. Mu Bai said with a serious face, and looked at Bakru at the same time. After being threatened by his eyes, Barkru was immediately furious, and issued an ultimatum to Iltz in an irresistible tone. Iltz, don't be embarrassed anymore. Hand over the pendant to Mr. Mu Bai immediately, otherwise you will wait to receive it. Out of a threat, the weak Iltz had to give in. She opened her arms reluctantly, her eyes full of resentment. Take my treasure, you will be cursed, Yos whispered. Really? Then I'm really looking forward to it. Mu Bai smiled, then pulled off the pendant and put it in his trousers pocket in a very unappreciative manner. Everyone, I wish you a beautiful night. I still have some things to do, so I won't delay you. Mu Bai had a smirk all over his face, and Bakru was somewhat resistant to his words. Mr. Mu Bai, I've been sincere. But Bai Ling hasn't been found yet. Do you think it's appropriate for you to leave now? Haha, don't worry, I will never lie. Bai Ling is indeed in warehouse number 6. If I tell a lie, you are welcome to come and settle the account at any time. As soon as Mu Bai finished speaking, he broke through the door and no one dared to stop him, he could only watch his unruly back. Damn, it's a bunch of shit. This guy must be cleaned up, but the top priority right now is to find Bai Ling first. Bakru let out a roar of incompetence, and after a burst of catharsis, he set his sights on IELTS. IELTS, don't stay in a daze, immediately use all available relationships, we will get Bai Ling back, so that your gem can be returned to you. Donggang number 6 warehouse. Bai Ling sat next to a stone statue as if nothing had happened. The sea breeze at night and the shimmering moon shadow made her feel a rare comfort. And standing beside Bai Ling, is the sweet heart mask with a handsome face. At this time, the other party was breathing smoke, and Bai Ling's cold appearance made Bai Ling a little concerned. Mr. Masquerade, thank you for taking the initiative to come and help me, but the Bakulu group is really powerful, are you sure you want to confront them? Well, this is also part of the plan. In terms of the strength of those guys, normal procedures cannot allow them to suffer the punishment they deserve, so there is the existence of the Hero Association. Sweetheart Mask said with a serious face, and at the same time, a fierce cold light flashed in his eyes. And not long after that, a young man felt the scene in a hurry, and said a very important news. Boss, the port has begun to move. From the perspective of scale, there are at least about 100 people. Oh? This number is a bit small. Sweet Mask responded with disappointment, because he wanted to give the opponent the greatest destructive effect. Brother, there are quite a few, and there are some capable people in the team of those guys. Those who can. Yes, I noticed a few guys in white trench coats. If I guessed correctly, they should be armed groups called hackers. Ma Zai's response immediately aroused Bai Ling's intervention. She stood up directly, and then said to Sweetheart Mask, I know that group, they have a close cooperation relationship with the Bakru family. Since this is the case, then they are also bad pendants? Sweetheart Mask showed a weird smile. The point he cared about was completely different from the other two. It can't be said completely, those people are just taking money to do things. HMPH, Miss Bai Ling, that's just an egoist's rhetoric. Sweet Mask gave a qualitative analysis, he has already regarded the hacker group as a disposal target. As the protected party, Bai Ling, who is very passive, is not good to continue to discuss this issue. The screen rotates. Roger, who is at the port, is in the final mobilization. He knew very well that if this mission failed, his life would disappear along with it. Out of consideration for his own safety and the reflection of his value, he demanded that the escort army under him must swear to the death and bring Bai Ling back no matter what. As for those hackers who cooperated with each other, they looked at Roger's exaggerated performance with the eyes of a clown jumping on the beam. Number 0. It's rare that you have to go out in person. It seems that the Buck family really attaches great importance to that girl. The guy who speaks is number 1 in the hacker group, as an open mercenary organization. The hacker group has always been refined as its main style. Different from other mercenary units, the hacker group has very strict requirements on the number of people, all of which are controlled within 10 digits, and they also need to complement each other's abilities. As for the ranking of strength, it followed the simplest numerical order, and did not make too many modifications. Number 1. You're right, Mr. Barclow attaches great importance to Bai Ling's ability. If the opponent falls into the hands of the enemy, the consequences will be unimaginable. That's why he asked us all to come over. Number 1 continued to ask. This is only one aspect of it. After all, there is such a big commotion. If someone takes advantage of the fire, it is necessary to take insurance measures. After number 0 finished speaking, he walked up to Roger. As an ally of peers, timely communication and feedback are very important cooperation contents. Roger, sir. Please allow me to lead the hackers to Detour, so that we can provide the necessary guarantees and achieve unexpected results. Okay, no problem. After all, I invited you out. What reason do I have to refuse? Roger responded with a smile. Obviously the appearance of the other party gave him a lot of confidence. Thank you for your understanding. After saying that, number 0 returned to the front of the team. He led the other 9 members and disappeared into the night together. Such a ghostly way of action made Roger and his party astonished. They have never doubted the strength of hacking passengers, and even the overturning of the Bai Ling incident did not affect their reputation in the slightest. Little guys, you don't need to worry about the backup anymore. All you have to do now is to give me courage. As Roger's order was issued, the thug-like escorts broke into the dock. They did not control the lights at all, and their attitude was as if they were telling Bai Ling that they had come. Looking at the huge team, Sweetheart Mask showed an incredible smile. He stared straight ahead, and then gave instructions to the younger brothers behind him. All regions take note and start implementing the plan. The silent night was broken by bright lights, and the arrogant bar crew family members ran unscrupulously in the port. They didn't care about ambush at all, and they didn't even expect to be attacked. Because in the eyes of these guys, no one dared to provoke the Barclay family, who was usually powerful. But just when everyone was self-righteous, the discordant gunshots suddenly turned the noisy scene into a silent mime. Where did the gunshots come from? Roger jumped out of the first car and hid behind the container. Boss, I don't know either. The sound of the engine just now was too loud, so it was difficult to identify the direction of the gunshots. A horseboy responded quickly, while the subordinates who carried out the ambush mask, as if they heard the conversation of the other party, immediately shot 30 warheads towards the corner of the container. The bursting flames made the Bakru family realize the status quo. They gave up their childish fantasies, took out all the weapons in the trunk, and began to fire salvos towards the starting point of the flames. You idiot. Why do you take the initiative to reveal your location? Just as the Barclay family poured out firepower, the ambush personnel started a dialogue. I was also on a whim and wanted to teach them a lesson. The guy who shot the first shot explained with a simple and honest face. As his partner, another slender man had a helpless expression on his face. Forget it. When you go back, wait for the big brother to clean up you. It's not suitable to stay here for a long time. Let's retreat first. The ambush team hit it off and left the scene. But just as they set off, the hacker team stinging in the dark suddenly appeared behind them. It's so interesting. There are people who really have a bad relationship with the Bakru family at this juncture. The person who spoke was number 5, who has always played a role in the hacker team. Yeah, I really want to see what kind of guy their boss is. I hope he's not an idiot. The one who echoed was number 6, who was Li Shang's brother of number 5, and his personalities were very similar. Okay, let's talk about these boring questions later. Pay attention to the surrounding area and don't let their accomplices rescue them. Number 0 gave instructions, and the rest of the members followed suit immediately. As for the two poor fellows, at this moment, their faces were hesitant, and they did not dare to make any movement. You. Who are you? The slender man asked tremblingly. We are a mercenary team hired by the Bakru family. You can call us hackers. Number 0 responded with a serious look, and then he asked his question. I have answered your question, now tell me, who are you? Haha. Do you think I will betray my friends? The slender man said suddenly and seriously. Well, I still have the backbone, but I don't know if the person next to you has the same manliness as you. As soon as number 0 finished speaking, he raised his sword and fell. He didn't hesitate at all, and chopped off the slender man's head in an instant. Facing the gushing plasma, another bloated guy immediately turned ashen with fright, and at the same time appeared incontinent mode. Hey, little fat man, if you don't want to die, you'd better cooperate with our actions. Number 1 induced, and he played the role of Mr. How How. I said, we are members of the White Horse Club. White Horse Club? What the hell is this name? Number 1 was a little puzzled, but at this moment, number 8 in the hacker team gave the answer. It's a cowherd club. It's located in the second block. The business is very hot. If there is a chance, I can show you the feeling. Number 8 said with a playful face. As the only woman in the team, she was always able to tell very strange knowledge at critical moments. Oh. I don't understand this. How can a cowherd shop dare to confront the underworld? Is it to cultivate masculinity? Number 1 was still puzzled. Things shouldn't be so simple, there must be some kind of power behind them. Number 0 responded immediately, and refocused on the little fat man. Who is your boss? Yes. Little fatty hesitated, but his actions were immediately punished. Number 7. Tell this idiot how to hand over the building with us. Following the instruction of number 0, a man with a huge body and long hair stood in front of the little fat man. Okay, boss, I'll let him relearn the social etiquette that he should have. After all, number 7 waved a huge fist and smashed it down on the opponent's calf. With the collision between the two, the little fat man felt unprecedented pain at that time. Ah, my leg is broken. The piercing pain gave Xiao Pang a new understanding. If he can't know everything without saying anything, then what awaits him will be the torture of life rather than death. The appearance of such a result is simply unbearable for ordinary people. In order to protect himself, he simply said everything. Our boss is Sweetheart Mask, and he made us come here. Little Fatty covered the wound with his hands, with a look of pain on his face. Sweetheart Mask? Why is he going against the Barcrew family? Number 0 suddenly became serious. Because 3 hours ago, a man and a woman suddenly appeared, and they made contact with the boss, and then what happened now? What does the man and woman look like? Men are very ordinary, the kind of existence that can't be found in the crowd. Women are very beautiful, I suspect the boss is bewitched by her. Do you know the name? Number 0 continued to ask. It seems to be called Bai Ling. Where is she? With the boss. Damn, I'm asking about the location. Number 0 was suddenly furious, and punched the opponent's wrist with a punch. Ah, in warehouse number 6, I beg you to spare me. Xiaopong gave the final answer, but his request was not answered. Number 0 stood up indifferently, and number 1, who knew his intentions, immediately took action. Little fat man, remember, the betrayal will never end well. Number 1 smiled and then crushed the other's throat. When everything was done, number 0 gave new instructions. It seems that the information is correct. The other party deliberately lured the Barcrew family to come here. Although Sweet Mask is an A-level hero, if we fight against that guy, it will definitely affect us. Then what should we do? Number 1 asked, and the rest of the staff showed similar looks. Avoid a head-on conflict with A-level heroes, just take Bai Ling away. What if the other party is entangled? Don't worry about this. Before implementing the plan, we have to make sure that the Barcrew family's personnel can safely reach the number 6 warehouse, so that they can play the role of cannon fodder. Haha, as expected of number 0, I know this tactic, it's called fishing in troubled waters, right? Number 5 said excitedly. HMPH, you're talking nonsense, time is running out, we'll take action now. Under the order of number 0, the members of the hacker team formed a group of 2 and redistributed them in the corners of the battlefield in order to provide effective cover. At the same time, just as Sweetheart Mask and the Barcrew family were fighting, a third-party force appeared in the jungle on the side of the port. The hungry wolf with the attributes of Luji finally found the exit following the sound of gunfire. If it were an ordinary human being, he would definitely feel scared and worried that he would be involved in it. But for the hungry wolf, it was a kind of gift encounter. He showed a sinister smile, eager to fight instinct, burning the blood in his body. Sure enough, it's a metropolis. It's such an exciting scene when you first come up. It just so happens that I can try the power of that seed and see if that stinky woman is bragging. Hungry Wolf prepared to jump, and he was about 300 meters away from the port. With the completion of the action, he suddenly exerted his strength, and with an unreasonable degree, he shuttled to the tower crane in the port. The scenery here is good, but have you ever thought that the scenery below is more interesting? Hungry Wolf made a speech, and his targets were number 9 and number 10 of the hacker team. Facing the sudden voice, the 2 immediately responded. They quickly distanced themselves, and then asked in a cautious tone, "Who are you? Are you an assassin sent by Sweet Mask?" Hungry Wolf heard Yila, and then responded, "Sweet Mask? What is that? By the way, you haven't answered my previous question." Seeing Hungry Wolf's calmness, the weakest number 10 began to feel a little guilty. He moved to number 9 and whispered, "This person is not a good person, we had better make plans earlier." Number 10 looked at each other and expressed the same concern. "You're right, and no matter what his identity is, it's better to start first." The 2 hit it off and immediately showed a posture to attack. As their opponent, Hungry Wolf didn't hesitate for a moment after seeing what he meant. "Well, it seems that people in Metropolis don't like to say hello, so let's communicate in the most primitive way." The Hungry Wolf stepped on his back, and his exaggerated body movements made the opponent a little confused. And number 9 and number 10, who have never seen such a battle, dare not take it lightly. They used the long-range attack as their previous action, and wanted to test the reality of the Hungry Wolf. But it is very regrettable that the Hungry Wolf who has turned into a weirdo is an existence that the duo cannot reach. When the flying props just set off, the Hungry Wolf has already circled behind them. The eccentric Hungry Wolf has undergone a huge change in mentality. In the past, he would always leave room for leeway, but in this attack, he was the killer. When this guy circled behind number 9 and number 10, the desire to kill instantly took over his heart. Hungry Wolf showed a hideous face, and immediately ran his palm through the opponent's torso. Too weak. Really too weak. After some evaluation, the hungry wolf threw the corpses of the two to the ground, and at the same moment, looked around with an extremely arrogant attitude. Are you going to do it together, or let me find them one by one? As soon as Hungry Wolf said this, the rest of the hacker team members couldn't bear it any longer. The team headed by number 0 moved around him in an instant, showing a unique connection formation. I can't break without me. With the roar of number 0, the members of Hacker pulled out their weapons one after another. Since they are complementary to each other in terms of compatibility, the exchange of fire also appears to be 500 plus points smooth. In the formation surrounded by 8 people, Hungry Wolf began to be passive. He could not find a breakthrough direction for a while, and could only let the opponent manipulate it at will. Number 0. This guy has a very high level of physical development, and our attack can't cause fatal damage. Number 1 put forward his views and his ability to observe the situation well, which made him start to worry. Well, I know what you mean. This bastard is getting familiar with our routines, and he really needs to make changes. Number 0 Finger Kang Yu. The sudden movement made the hacker team realize the metaphor. The crowd dispersed, and although they maintained the same formation, they did not continue to attack. Hey, are you guys scared? Hungry Wolf immediately taunted when he saw that the other party stopped moving. He wanted to provoke the wrath of his enemies so that they could fall into the trap he had fallen into. However, just when Hungry Wolf was thinking about his little 9-9, number 0 suddenly gave a new instruction. Activate the second formation, Bai Luo will be destroyed. With an order, number 7, the strongest in the hacker team, swooped in front of Hungry Wolf. And number 8, who has the ability to increase the effect, also immediately gave support. The chanting of the spell made the already strong number 7 even stronger. With his strong and sturdy arms, he tightly restricted the space for the Hungry Wolf to move. No, this guy is very strong. I can't guarantee the time limit, please act quickly. The report of number 7 made Commander number 0 make up his mind. He looked around and used his unique telepathy ability to connect with the rest of the team. Don't hesitate. Kill this thief quickly. Consciousness is conveyed, so that people can understand. They soared into the air one after another, hitting the Hungry Wolf's body with the most powerful output power. A loud bang. The energy released by the tower crane directly covers the entire pier. Originally it was a hacker team that wanted to carry out stealth activities, but this time also revealed its identity. As the smoke gradually dissipated, an unbelievable picture appeared. After being attacked, the Hungry Wolf not only did not lose his life, but instead used number 7 as a shield, making the opponent a victim of action. What a bunch of idiots who actually believed that idiot's words. Hungry Wolf said with a smile, and looked at number 7 in front of him with a look of contempt. Huge man. You didn't expect to die by your own hands, right? Hungry Wolf suddenly turned his body, and immediately kicked with a roundabout move, breaking number 7's corpse into countless pieces of meat. F***KU. I'm going to kill you. The roaring voice came from number 3 of the hacker team. He is number 7's best friend and a close friend of him growing up. Feeling out of control, number 3 made a wrong choice. He galloped out, attacking at the speed of a mad leopard. Don't move. Number 1 saw the clue, but he was still a step behind in stopping him. Just when number 3 was about to launch a fierce attack, Hungry Wolf suddenly smiled. His plan finally succeeded, although it did not achieve the expected effect, it was still a harvest. Idiot. Since you are in such a hurry to meet your friend, then I will help you. The Hungry Wolf swung his arms back, then pushed and pulled forward. Between this back and forth, an unparalleled destructive force was actually produced. And the speed of surpassing, so that number 3 cannot avoid. He ate that set of attacks abruptly, and produced irreversible results. Number 3's abdomen was penetrated, and the huge hollow was terrifying. Looking at the scarlet blood and internal organs, number 3 showed an unwilling expression, and closed his eyes permanently without saying a single last word. As a team, your performance is not bad, but as an individual fighting individual, your strength is still too weak. The blend of blood and fire is constantly being staged on the pier on the East Coast. As the main promoter of this incident, Mu Bai returned home with no worries, and wanted to wash away his exhaustion by taking a shower. In the bathroom, Jay Lily's voice kept coming out, and Mu Bai was sure that his wife was using it. He leaned on the front of the door, not showing the color of the past. Are you back? Tornado noticed the anomaly and saw the tired Mu Bai through the power of perspective. Well, just came back. How about you? Mu Bai asked a little abnormally. I just came in too. Let's go back and forth. Are you going to take a shower? Well, you can use it first, I'm not in a hurry. After Mu Bai finished speaking, he moved his body and wanted to lie down on the sofa for a while until the tornado ran out. But just as Mu Bai was about to leave, Tornado suddenly stopped him. She sensed Mu Bai's strangeness and made an invitation that was hard to refuse. Otherwise, come in and save time. Is it okay? Do I need to repeat this? If you don't want to, then forget it. Tornado's Tsunere properties always arouse Mu Bai's enthusiasm. Although this guy is already exhausted, if he refuses such a good thing, it will be a waste of money. After a little time, naked Mu Bai walked into the bathroom. He sat on the stone bench beside him, taking a shower with the rain shower while talking to the tornado in the bathtub. You don't look right. Did something happen? Tornado asked. Yes, many things happened today, and I just learned that the members of the Hero Association will also be doing dirty work in private. After listening to Yile, Longjuan immediately said, this is nothing new. After all, a hero is only a profession. If there is no way to fill the stomach, someone will naturally find another way out. You know these things? Mu Bai's expression began to change. Of course I do, but I have no interest in dealing with these trivial matters. Management matters should be handled by the management. But they have already broken the law, and the heroes who were supposed to protect the people actually did a trick to persecute the people. Mu Bai became so excited that he even broke the flower wine in his hand. You are right, but this is not something you and I can solve. I used to have the same opinion as you, but I found out later that it is human nature and it is difficult to smooth it out. If we have to impose interference, the consequence is the birth of weirdos. Tornadoes wash away Mu Bai's 3 views like a flood. He never thought that the punishment for crimes was actually the origin of the birth of weirdos. This contradictory logic made him fall into contemplation, and the prophecy of the end times that he had mentioned earlier appeared in his mind at the same moment. The turbulent thoughts collided, causing this guy to have a headache. He rubbed his already wet hair, and didn't want to continue. In order to ease the awkward atmosphere, Mu Bai raised a new topic again. He turned to look at the tornado, and his eyes changed. How's your business going? Mu Bai asked earnestly. Don't mention it. Those old stubborn people are not willing to listen to my warnings at all. Tornado's tone was quite complaining. Compared with the previous state, she was obviously a little angry. Huh. What the hell are those guys doing? Then you shouldn't. Mu Bai hesitated. The appearance of a tornado arrogant already appeared in his mind, and the other party's answer also fulfilled his thoughts. It's not a big deal, I just cut a hole. For those bastards, it's acceptable. Mu Bai smiled awkwardly after hearing this, and at the same time came to a conclusion that no matter what kind of negotiation, don't leave it to Tornado to execute. However, the conversation changed. After all, Mu Bai is Tornado's husband. Even if the other party's approach is biased, he will stand behind unconditionally. To put the tornado in a better mood, Mu Bai walked out of the bathroom. And when he turned back, there was a precious gemstone necklace in his hand. Tornado, this necklace is for you. It is said to be invaluable. Oh? You don't have any money. Where did you get it? Tornado took the necklace, and as his eyes moved, he was completely attracted by the bright pink gemstones. How do you feel? Mu Bai asked with a happy face, because he could see Tornado's mind. Of course I like it, but such a precious thing. Before the words of the tornado were finished, Mu Bai interrupted her and responded with a serious look. Tornado, trust me. No matter what the world turns out to be, I can't change it. I deserve it, you just need to know that. Mu Bai, who has a powerful boyfriend, once again conquered Tsunere's tornado. The latter lowered his head silently, shy and thin, which made Bai Xin want to go. The company of the lover will finally make people feel gratified. Although the price is a pink diamond necklace worth 700 million yuan, for Bai, the happiness of the tornado is the real priceless treasure. In the bedroom, Mu Bai was holding a petite dragon roll in his arms, and as his wife, the dragon roll also enjoyed the feeling of being taken care of. The relationship between the two began to gradually heat up, and the relaxed atmosphere filled the entire room. Under the atmosphere, Tornado began to chat. She snuggled up to Mu Bai's arm, and said softly, I'm going to put the blasting thing aside first, what do you think? Mu Bai was stunned when he heard. He didn't respond immediately, but by sniffing the tornado's hair, he sent a unique signal between lovers. It's all up to you. Tornado turned his head, and his twinkling eyes were like a smart fairy. Mu Bai, you don't have to let me do anything. If you have an idea, you can say it. Mu Bai laughed and then said, I am sincere, and there is no way to implement this matter exactly. After all, it is a prophecy, we can take precautions. After listening to the tornado, she was a little relieved. After all, compared with the distant future, she was more worried about the current problems. Thank you for your understanding, Bai. Actually, I made this decision because of personal matters. Oh. Did you encounter any difficulties? Bai's expression became serious, because in his opinion, the tornado thing was his thing. I don't have any difficulties, but my sister always makes me worry. Oh? What happened to Fubuki? Bai asked this on his mouth, but he was muttering in his heart, after all, Tornado is a famous sister controller, so when looking at problems, it will always expand for no reason. Fukiyuki is in love, but I always feel that there is something wrong with that man, and I am very worried about handing Fubuki to him. What? Fubuki fell in love. Bai was shocked, his eyes widened like copper bells. Yeah, haven't I mentioned it to you? Tornado asked flatly. No, you didn't mention it at all. If you didn't tell me about it, I wouldn't know it yet. Bai still looked surprised, and sighed at the difference in the trajectory of the world. In the world of the original book, the love life of Hell Fubuki has never been clearly defined, but in this case, the other party has such a situation. This alone gave Bai an idea in his mind that the situation was unpredictable. In future events, it is very likely that there will be a situation that is diametrically opposite to the original. If such a situation really occurs, then Bai's innate advantages will be gone. Thinking of this, Bai broke out in a cold sweat involuntarily, looking a little weird. Bai. What's wrong with you? Tornado noticed Bai's abnormality and asked his doubts in a caring tone. Oh, nothing, I was just thinking, if you interfere, Fubuki will definitely hate you. Tornado sighed, and then said, you are right, that girl can't always feel my good intentions, so I plan to ask you to come forward and investigate her boyfriend. As soon as Tornado said this, Bai was immediately dumbfounded. As the saying goes, brother-in-law and sister-in-law were enemies in their previous lives, and it was too late for Bai to hide, let alone approach them actively, and in this way. Considering the future harmony, Bai showed resistance for the first time. But compared to Tornado's sister control properties, Bai's begging is worthless. Well, since you don't want to, just pretend I didn't say it. Such a lethal answer made Bai give up his resistance. He grabbed the tornado that was about to turn around, and said in a sullen tone, I'm joking with you, tell me, how should I get in touch with that boy? When Longjuan heard this, his angry expression instantly changed, and then he gave an answer that shocked Bai again. The boy's name is Shui Long, and he is a martial artist. I have already asked someone to inquire about him. He participated in the upcoming martial arts conference. You should join in the fun too, just to see how strong he is. As the saying goes, the way of heaven is good for reincarnation, and whoever is forgiven by heaven. Bai, who originally wanted to leave the martial arts conference, was driven by fate and reconnected with the other party. He sighed and didn't think much about it. After just a little sigh, agreed to the request of the tornado. Okay, I know what to do, but I heard the registration has closed, how do I get in? Don't worry about this, I have entrusted a scalper to buy a seat, you just need to imposter. Bai listened and laughed. He never imagined that the things that he had spent a lot of time trying to accomplish were so simple and casual in the tornado. Okay. Just do as you say, it's not too late, let's go to bed, today is really a stressful day. Bai's situation is embarrassing, but compared with him, the guys who are fighting in the pier are even more tragic. When the screen switched back to there were only 3 members of the hacking team, number 0, number 1, and the only female number 8. The 3 remaining team members were all tired from each other. Especially as a female number 8, she even showed panic. But the hungry wolf who opposed them was full of fighting spirit at the moment. This guy became more and more brave in battle, and the blood infected all over his body stimulated the weird factor in his body. The sharp contrast makes the situation clearer. The sickle of death is already summoning. Out of an instinct, number 8 finally chose to flee. She abandoned her former teammates and her due dignity. As long as she can survive, she will not pay attention to other people's opinions. Sorry, it's beyond my power, and from this moment on, our relationship ends. Number 8 made a final confession to the remaining 2 members. But just when she was trying to escape, the hungry wolf, who was very good at detecting, directly locked her into a murdering target. A gust of wind howled, and the hungry wolf stepped on number 8 under his feet. Hungry wolf would never do such a thing until he got the weird factor. Stupid guy. Running away is your worst choice, it's even stupider than fighting me. Hungry wolf's playful words and deeds made number 0 and number 1 aware that something was wrong. Although number 8 had betrayed them, they finally chose to rescue them, thinking of their previous intentions. But unfortunately, the hungry wolf, who never hesitated, never gave them a chance to rescue them. Just as the two were running, he instantly gave birth to a huge destructive force. There was a loud bang, and the ground of the entire pier was sunken down by about 30 centimeters. Such an exaggerated destruction effect also means that the death of number 8 is determined. When the earthquake stopped, the hungry wolf slowly raised his thighs. The stench of internal organs was still sticking to the heel, and the poor became a pile of meat. Faced with such a scene, number 1 of the hacker team couldn't bear it any longer. He let out bursts of roars, and his unwillingness and humiliation were completely released. Damn. Damn. How dare this bastard do this? I'm going to kill him. Kill him. With the burst of roars, the hungry wolf did not take it seriously. He stretched arrogantly, and then jokingly said, "Are you a dog?" As soon as this statement came out, number 1's self-esteem was completely angered. He shattered the clothes on his body, and bloody tears flowed from his eyes. Number 1. What are you doing? Seeing his companion's actions, number 0 showed a panicked expression. He has heard about the ability of the other party, but when he sees it with his own eyes, it will still be difficult to accept. Number 0. This is my last request, please avenge us and smash that damn guy to pieces. After speaking, number 1 suddenly opened and closed his hands, and the bodies of his companions gathered towards this guy. Such a strange scene made Hungry Wolf finally alert. He tentatively attacked, but was completely blocked by number 0. I won't let you interfere with him. Number 0 saw the determination of his teammates. In order to be worthy of number 1's efforts, he also did his best. HMPH, it's just the struggle of the little people. I want to see what else you can come up with. Hungry Wolf's conceit began to rise. He gave up the interference on number 1, jumped to the other end of the battlefield, and began to indiscriminately attack the rest of the personnel. At the same time, the Mask of Sweetheart, who was far away in the number 6 warehouse, also saw the strange scene through the telescope. He told Bai Ling to prepare to leave because he felt the imminent threat. Miss Bai Ling, it seems that the scales of fate don't like to tilt towards you. Sweetheart Mask did not forget to adjust, and Bai Ling, who was equally rational, also gave a similar answer. Yeah, my weight is too light. If you feel troublesome, you can just hand me over like everyone else. Haha, it seems that you have misunderstood. In the current situation, it is no longer a question of how to capture you. As soon as Sweetheart finished speaking, she threw the telescope in her hand to Bai Ling. And after receiving the prop, Bai Ling immediately began to observe, wanting to see what the words Sweetheart Mask said meant. As the angle of view moved, Bai Ling was frightened by the scene in front of her. She saw a huge round sphere, which was swallowing all the corpses around in an incredible mode of action. What is that? Bai Ling asked with a little panic, but the Sweetheart Mask, who was standing beside her, was unable to give a clear answer. I don't know what that is, but I can assure you that you will be able to witness the miracle happen with your own eyes. The huge spherical object began to expand, and the blood-red dense fog was even more densely covered on the pier. Facing such a grotesque scene, Hungry Wolf and the others showed strange expressions. Although he is also a bloodthirsty monster, Hungry Wolf is not stupid enough to go head-to-head with the unknown. For safety reasons, he jumped to the distant container and watched the changes in the scene as an observer. Big brother, let's retreat. I always feel that the monster is going to do something terrible. A man in a black uniform gave advice to Roger. But as the commander-in-chief of this operation, Roger ignorantly rejected the other party's quick words. No. We have no way out. The boss has issued a death order. If we don't snatch Bai Ling back, we will die even if we go back. Such an answer made many younger brothers feel desperate. Some of them even began to regret why they chose this path in the first place. As the opponents of the Bacru family, the cowherds of the White Horse Club appear to be much freer. After they found that the environment could not be controlled, they immediately evacuated without any hesitation and restraint. Che, a bunch of cowards, let you run first, and after I get rid of those guys, I'll go after you. Looking at the backs of the cowherds fleeing, the Hungry Wolf in the high place showed killing intent. And just when there was another plan, number 1, who became a sphere, finally evolved into the second form. The huge sphere began to shrink, and the original volume of 10 meters in diameter slowly turned into particles the size of pearls, and floated in the air. Number 1, I will not let you down. Number 0 walked to the particle, and the tears in his eyes symbolized the mood at the moment. He picked up the pellet and swallowed it without hesitation. Such a strange move made Hungry Wolf feel bad. And the Mask of Sweetheart standing in the back, let out a burst of exclamation. There is such an operation. There was a thunderous explosion, and the night was completely shattered. Located in the center of the pier, completes the final absorption. His strength has grown exponentially, and his posture has also undergone tremendous changes. Number 0, who has always been a stern smile, gradually began to look hideous. His canine teeth evolved into fangs, and a pair of smart eyes appeared below his eyebrows. Good guy. Actually forcibly breaking through the shackles of the race, but that's fine, it's finally worth my seriousness. The hungry wolf showed an excited expression, and he had a premonition that he would win. But he is not the only one who has the obsession with victory. When number 0 completed his transformation, he instantly moved behind Hungry Wolf. His actions made Hungry Wolf feel unprecedented pressure. The word, death, appeared in Hungry Wolf's mind, and the huge white skeleton was imprinted in this guy's heart. Damn, I'm actually scared. Hungry Wolf laughed, then turned around to resist. But just as he turned around, number 0 suddenly launched a fierce attack. Using his hand as a knife, he slashed heavily on the collarbone of the Hungry Wolf. The powerful attack caused the container under their feet to shatter into 2 pieces. As the first target to bear, it can be seen how bad the situation of the Hungry Wolf is. Not bad, really good, it's not an opponent I like, I have changed my mind, I will do my best. Although Hungry Wolf was at a disadvantage, his words and deeds did not loosen in the slightest. After really feeling the threat of the other party, the Hungry Wolf also stimulated the weird factor in the body. The golden seeds sprouted at the heart, and the twisted vines pierced into the blood vessels. Although this process of change was painful, it also allowed the Hungry Wolf to experience the increase in strength. Useless. Seeing that the Hungry Wolf was about to make a change, number 0 immediately roared. He wants to avoid a bad situation and kill everything in the cradle. The explosive punch smashed into Hungry Wolf's body again, but this time the attack did not cause any substantial damage. When Hungry Wolf is concentrating, it is good that someone can touch his body. Even a pervert like Saitama has to enter serious mode. After several attacks, Hungry Wolf escaped from number 0's sight. He hides in the smoke and wants to complete his transformation quietly. Do you think it's enough to hide? Number 0 roared again, and then opened his newly acquired eyes. Those eyes with green pupils can see through all the fog on the battlefield, including the dark smoke of gunpowder. Hey, I found you. Number 0 sneered and immediately got up. His kinetic energy caused a gust of wind to blow away the black smoke in front of him. But when everything became clear, the Hungry Wolf in front of him also completed the transformation. Second round, start. The Hungry Wolf laughed wildly. The distortion of his face made him really look like a lone wolf, and the change in his body shape revealed danger everywhere. When the situation was changing, both Hungry Wolf and number 0 exuded an air of dominance, and the huge kinetic energy they possessed even affected the Sweet Mask in the distance. In front of the door of warehouse number 6, Sweetheart Mask clenched her hands. A strange smile appeared on his face, which was a kind of expectation, but also a kind of appreciation. I didn't expect to see such a beautiful scene tonight. The words of Sweetheart Mask made Bai Ling, who was beside him, say something different. Because from her line of sight, the fight in the distance can't be related to the word beautiful. It can be seen that in Sweetheart Mask's cognition, beauty does not just refer to appearance alone. The strength of strength can also convince this guy's value system. The screen rotates. The Hungry Wolf has played against number 0 several times, and each collision will produce strong fluctuations. The friction of the air has affected the surrounding objects. The dense container area has been beaten into an open field by the guys. Haha. Do you only have this ability? Hungry Wolf habitually launched a provocation, but after hearing about it, number 0 did not respond. As a collection of hacker squads, number 0 has mastered the characteristics of each member. He knew that it was Hungry Wolf's despicable method, so he deliberately showed off a flaw in the next action. Number 0 stepped up, and the swift and violent offensive was like a thunderbolt, but it was just a straight trajectory, which was very easy to grasp. Especially an enemy like the Hungry Wolf can find the omission in it. Idiot. How dare you rush over so brightly? The Hungry Wolf laughed, then turned sideways to avoid it, and took a fighting stance on the way, trying to use the power of collapsing mountains to smash number 0's spine. But behind all these actions, all are in the calculation of number 0. Just when the Russian wolf raised his arm, number 0's body showed a sclerosis reaction. He withstood the attack of the Hungry Wolf and formed a perfect block effect. And the difference in time has won him a neutral position to counterattack. Go to hell. Number 0 roared, and the accumulated hatred was completely released at that moment. A hollow appeared in his palm, and the energy contained in it was enough to destroy an entire street. With a loud bang, the energy released by number 0 even caused the sea surface to shake. The unlucky fishing boat was sunk by the waves, and the oil wells for exploration were also destroyed by the undercurrent. Under the baptism of that power, no human being can survive. This is something that number 0 is certain of, otherwise he would not have made that risky act. The release of energy made number 0's body very weak, and the originally strong body became a rotten dry wood, but at the age of 30, it was no different from a centenarian. Number 0 was paralyzed on the ground, struggling for the last breath. He knew that his time was short, but as long as he could kill Hungry Wolf, he would not regret making that choice. However, there are many inconveniences in this world. The Hungry Wolf with the potential of the dragon, forcibly withstood the attack. Although most of his skull had been cut off, under the influence of the eccentric factor, he still survived tenaciously and began to recover slowly. The attack just now really shocked me, but unfortunately, it still lacks a little fire. Hungry Wolf once again showed his iconic smile, and then mercilessly penetrated number 0's body. He slowly lifted the other party into the air, with a look that looked like a waste, watching the eyes of the number. It turned out to be like this: it seems that I still overestimate you. After saying that, Hungry Wolf smashed number 0 to the ground, and planned to dismember the opponent completely. But just when he was about to commit violence, a guy who wasn't supposed to be there suddenly intervened in Hungry Wolf's actions. My friend, he is already dying, why not let him die with dignity? Moving along the Hungry Wolf's point of view, the person in front of him at this time is Mu Bai, the initiator of the whole incident. Why is he here? The one who raised the question was Sweetheart Mask, who was far away in warehouse number 6, and Bai Ling, who was next to him, immediately observed the front with a telescope, and showed the same shocked expression after seeing Mu Bai. Who are you? As the camera pans, Hungry Wolf is looking at Mu Bai with fierce eyes, and is ready to fight. It doesn't matter who I am, the key is that your presence affects my plans. Mu Bai also responded with a displeased face. Oh. Since you said so, then I want to see how capable you are. The Hungry Wolf suddenly rioted, and he planned to make Mu Bai pay for his actions. But this guy never imagined that the man who suddenly appeared in front of him could defeat him in an instant. I'm in a bad mood too. Mu Bai turned on the God of Destruction mode, and the negative emotions brought on by the pressure prompted that force to move forward and play an extraordinary effect. Get out. Mu Bai roared, and a heat wave swept over. Under the drag of the air current, the Hungry Wolf was forced to fly hundreds of thousands of meters away, sinking into Wangyang. After repelling the Hungry Wolf, Mu Bai turned his attention to the surrounding crowd, and looked at the terrified Bakru family members. His eyes were as fierce as any butcher. If you don't want to die, just get out of here. Mu Bai shouted, like an announcement before the death penalty. Under that pressure, many men in black started running. Even though the punishment that awaited them would be severe, they did not want to die at the hands of Mu Bai. Hey, you bastards, bring it back to me. The guy who made the sound was Roger. Compared with the white terror pressure, what he was more afraid of was the perverted punishment from the boss. However, his cry was so helpless. The younger brothers who have lost the ability to distinguish are simply not willing to pay attention to this guy. Seeing that the interception was fruitless, Roger simply took out his gun, intending to kill the chickens and set an example. But just as he was about to shoot, Mu Bai suddenly moved behind him. I advise you not to do that stupid thing. Mu Bai's voice was like a mantra for life, passing through Roger's cochlea and reaching the opponent's brain. Under the influence of that magical voice, Roger's body became extremely slow, and he couldn't even control it. Mr. Roger, the situation has changed. I don't plan to hand over Miss Bai Ling to you. Please tell me what I mean to Mr. Barkru. Also, that file is fake, and I won't pursue it. After saying that, Mu Bai released Roger's restraint. He returned his freedom to the other party, and then used the eyes as a threat to force the guy to leave the scene. After everything was settled, the temperature at the scene dropped a lot. Although it is full of scars, it is gratifying compared to the most intense time. Hey. With a whistle, Sweetheart Mask moved to Mu Bai. After he simply arranged his hairstyle, he raised the doubts in his heart. Mu Bai. Why are you here? Sweetheart Mask asked. It's like this, I was about to fall asleep, but I suddenly received a call. Is the content of that call that affected your behavior? That's right. Bai Ling can understand me about this. Mu Bai replied simply, then looked at the warehouse in the distance. As the angle of view kept moving, Mu Bai made a cross-shaped gesture, and then a strange scene happened. Bai Ling, who was originally wandering in front of the warehouse, was suddenly caught up in a vortex of energy. But when the vortex appeared again, the other party came to Mu Bai's side. Mr. Mu Bai, what's going on? Bai Ling asked him with the same doubtful tone. It's like this, about 30 minutes ago, IELTS got my contact information from nowhere, she called me, and the main content was the disclosure of Barcrew. What? After listening to Mu Bai's statement, Bai Ling's face was astonished. After all, in her cognition, IELTS is a die-hard fan of Barcrux. Even if it was said that Roger betrayed the other party, she would not have thought that IELTS could backstab the boss. I heard it right. Miss IELTS betrayed Barcrew? Yes, you heard right, she did betray her boss. But what is this good for her? Could it be that she has other information? No, it's a lot easier than you think. What is that? She just wants to get back the Fanjon necklace, which is the premise of her cooperation with me. Mu Bai's answer left Bai Ling extremely speechless. In her world, the things that ordinary women are obsessed with are all she disdains. But looking at Mu Bai, his heart is much more complicated. After all, the necklace has been given to his wife Tornado, and IELTS has asked for redemption. In the process of going back and forth, one of them will inevitably be hurt. Whether it is public or private, it will make you fall from the high point of morality. Bai Ling, after this incident, I estimate that the Bakru family will not come to trouble you again. As for how to punish these guys, it's up to the masked sweetheart to deal with it. I have other things to do. If you have any trouble, you can contact me at any time. Bye. When Mu Bai finished speaking, he glanced at masked sweetheart. As a temporary ally, the other party did not make additional requirements, just nodded silently, and ended their communication with each other. After half an hour, dawn peeled off the clouds, and the long-lost silence finally settled on the pier. But just when the curtain was about to come to an end, the hungry wolf who sank to the bottom of the sea crawled back from the kingdom of death again. Scare. The hungry wolf roared, and his near-death experience inspired his latent abilities. This guy broke through the shackles of human beings, became a complete freak, and raised his strength to a whole new level. That damn bastard, I must kill him with my own hands. The hungry wolf murmured and rushed out of the sea at the same time. His aura triggered a new round of tsunamis, and the nearby islands were affected. If you ask what the price of a sweet marriage is, then freedom will definitely be among them. When Mu Bai ended the pier incident, he wanted to settle down. But as soon as he entered the house, the tornado full of anger was already standing in the middle of the living room. Tornado was annoyed by Mu Bai's departure in the middle of the night. Like all normal women, she interrogated Mu Bai with an attitude of asking for guilt. Do you have anything to say? Tornado crossed his hands on his chest, and the pink diamond necklace that Mu Bai had given her earlier was also thrown aside by her. Seeing that his wife was already angry with May 17th, Mu Bai knew that if he continued to hide things, then the unlucky guy in the end would definitely be himself. Out of the idea of a protecting himself, Mu Bai said the ins and outs of the incident very frankly, and even the compensation payment, he said it without reservation. After some explanation, the dragon roll was dumbfounded. She did not expect that in just 2 days, Mu Bai could cause so much trouble. And most importantly, it also involves the housing issue of civilians. This kind of incident related to people's livelihood has always been feared by the Hero Association. They were afraid that their reputation would be affected, so even if Tornado wanted to help, they couldn't coordinate through the Hero Association. That is to say, the accounts owed by Mu Bai can only be settled by their young couple. With the usual spending habits of Tornado, it is very difficult to come up with tens of millions of yuan in compensation. Mu Bai, we will discuss this matter later. Regarding the amount of compensation, what are your plans? Tornado abandoned the usual Tsunere attributes, and instead communicated with a very serious attitude. Well, I have my own plans, you don't have to worry about it. Mu Bai responded bravely, but his heart was already in chaos. It's all at this time, so don't force yourself. Sell this necklace. I calculated that it will be enough for you to pay off all your debts. Tornado manipulated the handed-down treasure with his mind power, but Mu Bai rejected the plan. He didn't want to see Tornado's regretful expression, let alone admit his defeat. And just when the situation began to stalemate, this guy suddenly thought of the original plan. Tornado, I thought of an excellent plan, Mu Bai said happily. What plan? Tornado was slightly puzzled. Didn't you help me buy the qualification for the production competition? As long as I get the reward of the championship, I can pay off all the debts. It's theoretically feasible, but isn't there a conflict between you and the organizer? There's no need to worry about this. My ability allows me to change my appearance so they can't tell who I am. As soon as Mu Bai finished speaking, chaos magic was revealed. Under the influence of that power, Mu Bai's appearance changed, turning into a tornado. How? Is my ability good? The complacent Mu Bai let the dragon rolls feel at ease. And the latter is precisely for this reason, so that the original Tsunere's attributes resurfaced. HMPH, it's really disgusting, since you have your own ideas, then do as you say, but I have one condition. What conditions? No matter what happens to you in the future, you must tell me. Because this is the right that the master should get, you know? Tornado's Tsunere-style words made Mu Bai suddenly relieved. He laughed twice, then quickly rushed to the front of Tornado, picked him up, and pushed him down on the sofa. Noon. Both Mu Bai and Dragonroll were dressed, and their sudden married life disrupted their mutual work plans. In front of the dressing table, Mu Bai began to arrange his hair for the tornado, while the tornado sitting in front of the mirror casually made an arrangement. I originally had an appointment with Fubuki, but I have a meeting to be held this afternoon, so you can go there. No problem, it's just a meeting, trivial. Mu Bai responded with a smile. No, I mean, let you accompany Fubuki. What? The emphasis on the tornado makes the harmonious atmosphere come to an end. Mu Bai never imagined that the other party would arrange for him to have contact with Fubuki. Not to mention other problems between men and women, the complicated relationship between brother-in-law and sister-in-law alone is enough to give Mu Bai a headache. Tronwan. Did you say the opposite? Do you think it's appropriate for me to be alone with Fubuki? Mu Bai wanted the other party to change his mind, but the tornado's answer was very clear. Of course it's appropriate, and you're not alone with her. Didn't I tell you about her boyfriend yesterday? It's just that you should pay attention and report to me about the other party's situation. It turned out to be an undercover agent, then I know what to do. As soon as he heard that the operation was gossip, Mu Bai's work mood was unprecedentedly high. He can't wait to run to Fubuki now and take a good look at that boyfriend. In July, the sun was hot as a stove, and Mu Bai, who was bored, had been waiting at the appointed place for more than half an hour. He didn't dare to walk around casually, for fear of missing the meeting with Fubuki. But letting him continue to stand under the sun stupidly is enough to embarrass this guy. Out of his own consideration, Mu Bai asked Tornado for the contact information of Hell Fubuki, and after some simple communication, he called the other party. Doo-doo. The phone rang, and Mu Bai's mood also became nervous. This is the first time he has made single-line contact with Hell Fubuki, for fear that it will leave a bad impression on the other party. Hey, who are you? The call was answered, and Helbuki Snow's voice was surprisingly pleasant. Her soft tone made Mu Bai feel kindness, which made the subsequent communication a lot easier. Flizzard, I'm Mu Bai, we've met. Hell Fubuki didn't answer right away, and the atmosphere was awkward, and Mu Bai was sweating again. I don't know how long it took, the other party always gave a response, and the tone also changed. Oh, so it's my brother-in-law, do you have anything to do with me? The cold tone made Mu Bai's mood quite low. He sneered awkwardly, and then responded, she has something to do temporarily, so let me accompany her. What? Are you here for company? She really does whatever she wants. Jigoku Fubuki hung up the phone, and answered firmly that Mu Bai was very passive. The Wong bombing effect that came at the beginning was a lot of hardships, but when he thought that it was a commission from his wife, Mu Bai could only bite the bullet and execute it. Another phone call. This time the other party's connection speed was much slower than the last time, but fortunately it was still connected. Hey, what's the matter with you? Hell Fubuki said in disgust. Although she didn't make contact, she had already started to hate Shiro. Well, the situation is like this. Your elder sister ordered me to accompany me, otherwise she will go to find you in person after punishing me. I think you should understand her temper, if it really annoys her. Before Mu Bai could finish his words, Fubuki interrupted his explanation. She knew better than anyone about the anger of the tornado. In order to avoid that terrible thing from happening, Jigokubuki agreed to Mu Bai's request. She said that she was about to arrive at the designated location, and Mu Bai just had to wait patiently. After hanging up the communication again, Mu Bai seemed much more relaxed. He walked into a coffee shop without hesitation, and waited for Fubuki to arrive while enjoying a refreshing dessert. 10 minutes later, in the dense crowd, Mu Bai saw Jigoku Fubuki's figure at a glance. Although it sounds a bit perverted, it should be said that Hell Fubuki's figure is really great, so that men in the past would observe with admiring eyes. Hey, Fubuki, I'm here. Mu Bai walked out of the coffee shop and shouted towards Fubuki in the crowd. His behavior was very publicized, causing all the nearby personnel to lock their eyes on him. At that moment, Mu Bai felt the malice in the world, and the words jealousy could not wait to be engraved on the foreheads of those men. And the more indignant they showed, the more satisfied Mu Bai's heart was. Although he wants to care about the world, he still cannot avoid worldly vanity. You calm down. My identity is a hero, and I need to always pay attention to people's comments on me. Hell Fubuki walked up to Mu Bai and gave a serious lecture. Okay, I'll pay attention. I was just afraid of missing you, and there won't be a similar situation in the future. Mu Bai smiled honestly, and took Fubuki to the relatively quiet street. Fukiyuki, I heard from your sister that it's not just the two of you who are going on a date today, right? Mu Bai began to talk about it, and he was about to start work. Well, and my boyfriend, that guy always likes to be late, that's why I show up so late. Fubuki explained his missed appointment, but Shiro was not interested in it. Ahem. Shall we find a place to sit first, or continue to wait here? Mu Bai gave up the initiative. First stay in a place, that guy's problems can never be corrected, I don't know how long it will take. After Fubuki finished speaking, he fixed his gaze on the clothing store on the side, and then said to Mu Bai with a wicked smile. Brother-in-law, come in with me for a walk, it just so happens that you also bought a set of clothes for my old sister. After all, Fubuki walked towards the clothing store, and Mu Bai, who followed closely behind, vaguely felt the crisis. This guy, shouldn't he want me to pay for it? Is this the trial in the legend? Mu Bai murmured in his heart, and the generation of this idea also made his pace become heavy.